Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello friends, today we will learn about the concept of Keynes and Samuelson economic thinking with me, Samuelson from the Economic Education Class 2020I. Follow to the end, okay? First, we will discuss Keynes' view. John Maynard Keynes is a British economic who has idea in changing macroeconomic theory and practice and world economic policy. The theory based on Keynes' idea is called Keynesian theory. Macroeconomic theory developed after Keynes pointed out the weakness that exists in the view of classical economics regarding determining the level of a country economy based on full employment. The difference between Keynesian view and classical economics is based on difference of opinion originating in the following issues.
1. The factors that determine the level of saving and the level of investment in the economy.
In the view of classical economics, the determining factor for the amount of saving and investment is the interest rate. However, according to Keynes, the amount of saving made by households doesn't depend on the high and low interest rate, but depends on the size of the household income level. Regarding investment, he thinks that the interest rate is not the only main component in determining the amount of investment. The amount of investment is also determined by other factors such as the current state of the economy, forecast of future development, and technological development. So, even though the interest rate is high, but if the current economic condition is good for investment and the prospects for the future are very good, then investment activities will still be carried out.
2. The relationship between wage levels and the use of labor by employers.
Classical economics assume that under the ceteris paribus assumption, a decrease in the wage rate would not affect the marginal cost of production or the cost of producing an additional new product. However, Keynes thought that a decrease in the wage rate would reduce people's purchasing power. The decline in people purchasing power will reduce the level of expenditure and result in a decrease in the price level of goods and services. The decline in the level of demand for goods and services due to weak people's purchasing power will result in a decrease in production capacity, which means a reduction in the number of workers. Thus, a decrease in the wage rate cannot create full employment. Keynes also has his own view of the factors that determine the level of economic activity of a country. According to Keynes, the determining factor of a country's economic activity is effective demand. Effective demand is demand accompanied by the ability to pay for goods and services in the economy. With the increase in effective demand, the level of production that will be achieved by the corporate sector will also increase. This situation will automatically lead to an increase in level of economic activity, the use of labor, and factors of production.
Key differences between Keynesian theory and classical theory.
In the classical theory, the way to overcome unemployment is to reduce the wage rate. In Keynesian theory, the way to reduce unemployment is to increase investment. The government has a minimal role in the economy. The government has a large role in the economy. Based on the law of say, that is supply will create its own demand. Thinking that is a mistake because usually demand is smaller than supply. The amount of saving will always be equal to the amount of investment. The amount of saving is not equal to the amount of investment. And last, in classical theory, the position of the balance of resources, including labor resources, will be fully utilized. In the event of unemployment, the government doesn't need to take any policy action. In Keynesian theory, in reality, the labor market doesn't work according to classical view. Wherever, the workers have a kind of labor union that will try to fight for the interests of workers from decreasing wages. Next, we will discuss Paul Samuelson's view of economic concept. Paul Samuelson is an American economist who won the Nobel Prize. Under the influence of Samuelson, Keynes' basic framework was refined to a more advanced level and with a wider scope of discussion.
There are two things that are meritorious from Samuelson's point of view.
First, it saw the reciprocal relationship between the multiplier factor and the accelerator principle that strengthens the economy in the aggregate. Effective demand from the public is influenced by direct investment, or autonomous investment, which then through the multiplier factor causes additional income to multiply. Effective demand can also be stimulated starting from consumer spending, which then through the accelerator principle indirectly causes an increase in investment or induced investment. The second area is about international trade, traffic, and payments. Samuelson clarifies the relationship between fiscal policy and the balance in international payment traffic. These show the role of the foreign trade multiplier, or the multiplier effect originating from foreign trade, and the various possible deviations from the international balance. Here it can be seen that there is an integration of international equilibrium in the general framework of macroeconomic theory. Well, that was an explanation of the concept of Keynes and Samuelson economic thought. If friends want to ask questions, we can discuss them at a meeting in the class later. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.